You're watching Capital City Sunday.
There are some big questions this morning following Nikki Haley's decision to suspend her presidential campaign. The former governor of South Carolina made the announcement Wednesday morning, just hours after former President Donald Trump defeated her across the country on Super Tuesday. In her speech, she stopped short of endorsing Trump. Instead, she called on him to earn the support of those who backed her. Let's bring in ABC News Political Director Rick Klein. Rick, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So let's start with this. With Nikki Haley dropping out of the race, where does that leave her supporters?
Yeah, this is going to be a big question now through the rest of this race. We heard her drop out. She didn't endorse Donald Trump or anyone else. In fact, she put it on Donald Trump to reach out to her supporters, making clear that he can't win without her people on board. And the exit polls that we've seen showed a lot of skepticism around that, something like 70, 80% in poll after poll saying they wouldn't be satisfied if Trump was the nominee. That's among Haley supporters. Of course, that's Republican primary voters. Trump can't afford to lose that. In the immediate aftermath, he wasn't particularly gracious. He's attacking her for her disastrous losses in his view. And it's Joe Biden that's trying to reach out to those same voters because they represent a part of the electorate that potentially is up for grabs. So that's going to be a big question because we've certainly seen some of the weaknesses that Donald Trump displays as a candidate, even as he rolled all the way to the nomination.
Rick, how are we seeing a story of almost two Republican parties playing out here? We had the Trump base and then that more moderate base that supported Nikki Haley. How will that play out as we go further into election season?
Yeah, you need both of them if you're going to win. And we're just too tightly divided as a country. And frankly, there's divisions on the Democratic side that might be as deep, if not deeper. But I think for the Republicans, they saw it a little bit more starkly displayed because Haley stuck around through Super Tuesday. I think if she had stuck around even longer, you'd see more examples of that. But yeah, you saw the cities and the suburbs vote quite a bit differently than more of the deep red MAGA parts of states and across the country. It's a trend that held. College towns seem to go pretty strongly for Haley. And again, right outside major metro areas through this week's Super Tuesday voting, you saw it over and over again. And you need to have a coalition as a Republican Party. Trump's view has always been that most of those people are going to come back on board anyway, and he's probably right about most of them, but you don't have to change much at the margins to have a huge impact in some of the battleground states.
Let's talk now a little bit about that division within the Democratic Party that you briefly mentioned there. As it's become more apparent that we're facing a Biden-Trump rematch, we've been seeing voters increasingly saying this is not the matchup they want, regardless of party. We see Trump pulling ahead in the polls. How does the Biden campaign address this? There are some clear trouble signs for the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, look, in their view, Donald Trump has been rejected by voters in midterm elections as well as the general election in 2020, and they just need to make that case prosecute that case against Donald Trump all over again. And it's a high-risk proposition. They may not have another choice around it, but given Biden's lack of popularity, they really don't have a way around it about trying to change the terms of this discussion and shift it to the other side. And I think that's where this campaign is going to be fought. It's not going to be pretty, or it's not going to be uplifting. But it is, I think, going to be important. I think the first time in more than a century that we've had two people who served as president before, one is the incumbent and one is the defeated former president, running again. So there's no real precedent for what that means when everyone knows all of the candidates very, very well. Are people going to look around at third-party options? Are people thinking about staying home? Do people just want to fast forward all the way to November? All of those things are going to be true at the same time.
There was a significant endorsement this week. We saw Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell endorse Trump. There has been friction among the two since McConnell blamed Trump for the January 6th insurrection. So what does this endorsement say here about Mitch McConnell's position?
Yeah, to me, it's one of these things that can be shocking and not surprising at the same time. To have covered Mitch McConnell for a long time, to know that he's a party guy and he's always going to support the Republican nominee. It wouldn't be tenable to be the Republican leader in the Senate and not endorse the Republican nominee. Clearly, he doesn't like Trump. Trump doesn't like him or his wife, based on what he has said, even though his wife served in his cabinet. And yes, the blame that McConnell placed at Trump's feet for the events of January 6th, juxtaposed with this endorsement, are really striking set of facts. This is not who Mitch McConnell wanted, but he is stuck with him, and I think he's acknowledging that reality, and he's going to be the Senate Republican leader through the rest of this year and a senator for another 3 years, and I think he realizes that he may have no choice. But again, if you look at the trajectory of where Mitch McConnell has been on the questions of Donald Trump, the questions he's raised about his culpability around January 6th and other low points of the Trump presidency, and it is just absolutely mind-boggling.
ABC Political Director Rick Klein, thanks so much for joining the show this morning.
Thank you.